Good afternoon and welcome to Influential Women. My name is Jenny Smith and I have the honor of being here today with Miss Sandy Gutierrez. She is a big deal in the Pueblo community. She is with Health Solutions and many other organizations and nonprofits, but I first met Miss Sandy when we were at the Latino Chamber. She was the CEO and I was with Lamar, and that's where our friendship started. So thank you for being here today, Sandy.
Oh, thank you for having me. It's a little bit unnerving, to be honest with you, because, I gave a lot of thought to this, and then I was overthinking, and I thought, just let it be what it is. But, you go into something like this saying, why me?
Really? You think that question? Why me?
Oh, absolutely.
You're kidding.
No.
Oh, because when I think of influential women, you're definitely that name that just pops up.
Oh,
you're a big deal
sweet.
in our
Thank
town,
you.
and you do a lot. So it's crazy that you even think that. So have you ever done a podcast before?
I have.
Okay.
I have.
Where have you done one at?
We did some work with a nonprofit that I worked with in Denver some time ago. I was not good at it.
Oh, that's hard to
in
believe.
Interviewing, but I'm with the buddy here, so
Yeah.
I feel good.
Yeah, we're just two friends having well, I should have brought us wine. What was I thinking?
Well, we thought about it.
I know.
My concern would be where would that conversation go? And so we're probably safe doing it here now. But at some point we can do a wine podcast.
Absolutely.
So loosen up a little bit more.
So I know you're a San Diego girl. Tell me a little bit about your upbringing and a little bit about Miss Sandy.
Oh, thank you for asking. I grew up here in Pueblo, born and raised. My family, my mom and my dad moved here from a little town south of here called Antonito, Colorado. It's a very small town. They graduated from high school there, and in order to get meaningful employment, they moved to Pueblo and bought a house here and started raising their family. But my dad came to work here to work at the CF&I.
Okay, so the steel mill brought y'all here.
The steel mill brought my mom and dad here, and then, of course, they started their family. I have two siblings. I have an older brother and an older sister. I'm the baby of the family, but you would never know that.
No, because I really see you as the responsible, like almost the oldest sibling.
I am. But we all have our role in each other's lives, and it's very blessed, to say the least. So, my father worked at the CF&I for many, many years, and unfortunately, he passed away at the very young age of 38.
Oh wow, super young.
I was 15 years old. And my mom raised 3 children on her own from there, and she did an amazing job. We all grew up pretty balanced. We've all had our issues and our challenges, but she did a great job raising her kids on her own.
She did, and I don't know your siblings, but you turned out very exceptionally well, and I've had the pleasure of meeting your mom at several luncheons and dinners, and she's just a gem. She's so sweet.
She is. She comes from very humble beginnings, just like we all do. She was raised on a ranch, so she did a lot of hard labor as a child, helping the family to man the ranch, if you will, or woman the ranch. And she has 5 brothers and sisters, and so they all pitched in to help my grandparents. And, growing up, one of the fondest memories that I have growing up is spending the summers with my grandma at the ranch. She and I became very, very close. She was a huge inspiration in my life. When you talk about inspirational women, back in the day, she was very involved in her community. She was very politically involved. She was very mindful of her family and taking care of her family, and she taught me how to crochet and to, do all the fun things as a little girl. And unfortunately, I lost her at an early age as well.
Really?
But yeah, I was 6 when she passed away and 15 when my dad passed away.
So you had hardships at a very young age.
I lost very important people in my life at a young age.
Yeah.
Yeah. But, it just, what I've learned with those experiences is to just be grateful for the time that I had with them, and to cherish the memories and let those amazing memories and, fun times that I had with them to carry me.
So do you still crochet to this day?
No.
No, you didn't like carry on that tradition.
No. She taught me how to make clothes for my Barbies.
Oh, how cute.
Yeah. And as you can imagine, Barbies were a little bit different at that time, but yeah.
Huh. And were you named after your grandma? Where does Sandy come from?
I don't know.
You don't know that?
She was my godmother, so she baptized me, but she gave me my middle name, which is Sandra Marie. So I don't know where she got that, but
So your real name's Sandra. I don't even think I knew that.
my name is Sandra.
Every time I say Sandy, I think of like Grease, and oh, Sandy, baby. I don't know why I always just think of that song, and I want to serenade you every time I see you.
So many people do that.
So I'm not the only one?
No.
Are there any other songs that people...
No, not that I can think of, but the Grease, the whole Grease movie, people somehow connect me to that, and I'm sure it's just my name.
Yeah.
But it's endearing. I love it. I love the movie, so.
Yeah. Parker and Paisley are getting ready to do duet dance together, and it's to Grease right now. So that's why we watched the other day, and so, you know, Sandy's still fresh in my mind.
Yeah.
But
adorable kids.
Born and raised in Pueblo.
So born and raised in Pueblo. That's kind of my early, childhood growing up. Some of my fondest memories with my dad were he used to own a 1929 Model A Ford pickup. And that was his pride and joy. He protected it like his own child. He loved that truck. And it's kind of what people know my dad from. But he used to put it in the parade, the Fiesta Day parade, every year.
Oh, what color is it?
It was different colors. He would, one year it was gold, another year it was black, another year it was red. So whatever, he was excited about, I guess, with colors at that time. That's what he would
super cool.
paint his truck. But the fun thing about that, and this is probably where I get some of my outgoing personality or whatever, but
You're not outgoing.
just a little bit, is my mom would dress us all up alike. So imagine my older brother, my sister and I, and she would dress us all alike. My brother hated it.
I love it.
And so we would ride in the back of the truck every year through the parade with my dad on Fiesta Day. So, as I kind of, when I lost him, you just kind of continue going through life, and we always carried that tradition. And we have a very specific spot that we had growing up that we still do to go watch the parade. And we have family members that come from out of town to come and join us in that. So it's a tradition that we've carried on.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah. And so I'll kind of skip ahead a little bit just to kind of stay on that. But when I started at the Latino Chamber, of course, I had to be in parades and I had to be, out there. And so I always cherish that memory. and thinking back of how frustrated we were as little kids, thinking, why do we have to do this? We look dorky, all having to dress alike, but what a great experience and a fun memory. So
I want to see a picture. Do you have any pictures of you and your siblings in matching outfits?
We have many.
Would you be willing to share?
I absolutely will.
Yes. Okay. Awesome. So do you still have that truck in your family?
We don't. The truck was handed down to my older brother, and my sister got his Jeep, and I got a portable camera, which, they got the cars, but I got this really amazing camera that it's kind of a decorative piece in my home.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah, it still works.
Awesome.
Still works. It's one of those portable or Polaroids.
Okay.
So you can't find the film or anything, but it still works. I can still click it and pretend like I'm taking pictures. And so my brother handed it down to my nephew, his oldest son, a few years ago, and he made the tough decision, and we all supported him, of selling it so it can go to a good home. He found a gentleman that restored old vehicles, and, since my dad died, we didn't restore it or, keep it. We just kept it. And so it went to a good home.
Well, good. I'm glad to hear that.
Home. Yeah.
And you guys still get together every year for the Fiesta Day parade?
Yes. Of course, this last year we couldn't because of COVID, but...
Yeah. It's been a hard year.
It's been a very hard year. And we're getting to the other side of it, and there's more behind us than there is ahead of us in getting through this. But I don't have children. I have 3 amazing nephews and an adorable niece that were as close as could be. But it just breaks my heart that they've had to go through this, have to struggle.
Like with school and education, are they involved in like sports or any clubs too? Where?
No, they're not. They're older.
Okay.
So they're in their later 20s. But my niece in California, her school year was interrupted. Her extracurricular activities with her friends was interrupted. She comes home all the time. So there's
What's her name?
Mia.
That's right, Mia. You love her.
Oh,
she's your little thing, isn't she? You just love her.
Oh, she and I are 2 peas in a pod, and we love being together. And when she's here in Pueblo, I'm the girly girl aunt that she gets to spend time with. So she loves to go out, and we do our pedicures and manicures, and we do shopping, and we go get ice cream and do fun things.
Best aunt ever.
So
is that your brothers?
No. So my brother has 2 sons, Shelby and Jonathan.
Okay.
Shelby lives in Scottsdale, Arizona. Jonathan lives here in Pueblo. My sister has a son. His name is Justin, and he's the oldest of the nieces and nephews. It's his daughter. So she's my great niece.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
No, I just always remember you talking about her. And growing up, did you ever want children?
That's a very interesting question. I never really yearned for children, but I was always the neighborhood babysitter for whatever reason. I was the one that was always babysitting the kids, and I think, part of it was I just love kids, but I think the other part of it is a very young age. It was a great way to start making money. And, like I said earlier, my mom raised 3 kids on her own, and when my father passed away, she had to figure out how to raise her kids. And there's a connection that Andrea Aragon and I have. I was sharing with you earlier that there's so many things that she and I have connections with, but I just admire the work that she did with the United Way. But we were a family in my younger years that benefited from United Way benefits because my mom was struggling as, a single parent. And she took on cleaning houses for a living. And so I think, the babysitting afforded me the opportunity to have extra money. And then, she went on to work at the university. She got an amazing state job, and she, my mom, kind of moving her career forward. But as far as children are concerned, I just never had that yearning. If God would have blessed me with children, I would have accepted them with open arms. The most treasured times that I have in my life are with my nephews and my niece. So I love being around them, and so I know I would love being around my own children and raising them. But I just believe that God had a different plan for me.
Absolutely.
He had a different plan.
And you've kind of been through a bunch of different chapters in your life to where you are today. So where did it all begin? Because, obviously I know you from Latino Chamber to now House Solutions, but tell me a little bit prior to that and how your journey began.
Oh, how my journey began. Well, let's get started.
Where's that wine?
Yeah, right. Well, we'll have to do a little bit of editing, but no, I'm just kidding. My journey began here in Pueblo. This is the community that I was born and raised in. I loved it. I went to CSU Pueblo. I ended up graduating from Pueblo Community College because, quite frankly, university setting was not good for me for my studies because I wanted to have too much fun. I was too busy partying with my friends, having fun, and, I knew that if I didn't go to the community college, I wasn't going to graduate from college. So I went to South High School. That's one of the big questions here in Pueblo.
Yep, you're Cole. Okay, there you go.
What high school did you graduate from?
Yep.
So all 3 of us from my siblings from South High School. And just as a matter of fact, too, my mom still lives in the home that my parents moved into. They were here for about a year, and they purchased their first home And I was a year old when they moved into that home, and she still lives there.
Where is it at, if you don't mind me asking?
It's on the south side of town,
Okay.
right by Beulah Heights Elementary.
Okay.
And we used to walk to school. She used to walk us to school growing up, but after a while, we would all three just walk her, to school. It was right around the block, and so
I love that, because then you always have a place to go to home. Oh,
yeah.
That is super special.
Yeah. And my nephews love it. My nephews love, and my niece love that she's in the home that we all grew up in.
Mm-hmm.
So, and she loves that. And, part of that too is, we talked about my dad earlier. My nephews and nieces never met my dad. Obviously, I was 15. None of us had, gone, we were still all in high school when my dad passed away. But my nephews and my niece talk about my dad like they knew him. They always talk about Grandpa Red, because we've kept his legacy and his memory, and just, we always embed him in our conversations. So it's just interesting that it's almost like they knew who their grandpa was.
I love it. And his name was Red?
His name was Gilbert, but his nickname was Red because he had red hair. So like Mia, like Mia,
okay.
that auburn, beautiful red hair. Mm-hmm. My dad had red hair. So,
and you look more like your mother.
I do.
Right?
I look in the mirror right now, Jen, and I'm just like, oh my gosh, that's my mom. And then I just kind of sit there and go, thank you, God. Mm-hmm. That's my mom.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So do your siblings look like your parents too?
They look more like my dad.
Your dad. Okay.
Yeah, they took on the Gutierrez genes. I took on the Perea genes, which is my mom's maiden name, but yeah.
Okay.
So graduated from high school here. I married my high school sweetheart, and that's what took me to San Diego.
That's where I was like, I honestly didn't know you were from Pueblo. I thought you were from San Diego this whole time.
Well, I have the best of two worlds.
Okay.
That's kind of my second home, and I still have I still go all the time, as you know. Mm-hmm. So we moved to California when we got married. And so we both started our careers there, and I made tremendous friends. And I started working for a company called Watkins Manufacturing, which manufactured hot tubs. And so I got hired on in their marketing department. And Karen Stanley, who, when we talk about women that have made an impact in our lives, and that you forever cherish that time with them, she and I are still dear friends to this day, but she gave me my first working opportunity in California. She hired me, and so in their marketing department, and so I worked for Watkins for about 11 years.
Oh, wow. So you were out in San Diego for a while.
I was out there for 11 years.
Jeez.
Yeah. And then, the whole question that I get all the time, which is fine, is what brought you back to Pueblo? And a divorce brought me back to Pueblo. When unfortunately, my marriage didn't work. I had some amazing opportunities in San Diego that molded me in ways that gave me experiences that I could not have imagined having had I not moved to San Diego. So I'm incredibly grateful for that. And I made amazing friends. I'm still friends with the president of the company. He's still the president today. And so when I go back to San Diego, we have little mini reunions. And
awesome.
As you know, I rent a cottage on the beach every August.
You deserve it. You deserve it.
That's my time. That's my Sandy time. And so since I've moved back, that's kind of my getaway to just refresh, recharge, regroup, and come back to just continue my life here in Pueblo. But I just am so blessed to have that in my life.
Absolutely. So, you talk about you coming back to Pueblo. What was it that made you come back?
Divorce.
Just divorce. But like, you just wanted to get out. It wasn't like your family was here, or like, you just love the cold, like anything like that. Or it was like, nope, divorce. I'm just peacing out.
No, I would have stayed in San Diego. But when you go through something like that in your life, and I didn't have family. I had amazing friends, and I have friends that I consider my family in San Diego. I have two families that I am so incredibly grateful for that just adopted me into their lives. And, again, I'm still very close to them. When I go back, we get together. So I could have stayed in San Diego, but I think at that time I just needed to be around my family and just kind of figure out what was next in my life for me. Mm-hmm. And so I decided I'd come back to Colorado. I was not going to come back to Pueblo. I was going to come back to Colorado to be closer to my family. And so my brother flew out to San Diego. We rented a U-Haul truck and we loaded me up and drove to Pueblo. And Jen, I literally cried the whole way because I was so conflicted about, is this the right decision? I have such a great living. I was living such a great life in San Diego, but I needed my family. I just knew at that point I needed them. So we got to Albuquerque, New Mexico, and he turned and he looked at me and he said, listen, if you're not ready to go back to Colorado, we can turn this U-Haul around and it's all okay. And I said, no, I got to get back. So I came kicking and screaming, literally crying, and I landed in Pueblo, moved in with my mom. Thank God for her. She has just been my amazing rock my entire life. And I was looking for employment in Denver and Colorado Springs because, Jen, truly my attitude was Pueblo has nothing to offer me. It's a small town. I'm a big city girl now. I had, the big city experience. What does Pueblo have to offer me? Which was really a bad attitude, but it truly was where I was in my life.
Which there's nothing wrong with, admitting to that, because I think there's plenty of people who say that.
Yeah. So I landed, in Pueblo, and I thought, all right, I got to put gas in my car. I've got to pay my insurance. I've got to find a home. I've got to do all those things to get my life started again. So I was doing interviews in Denver and Colorado Springs for a while, and nothing felt good. It just didn't feel, I'd get job offers, and I'm like, nah, that's just not what I want to do. And so one Sunday, I opened up the Pueblo Chieftain, and there was a job for the Latino Chamber, and they were looking for a membership coordinator with an emphasis on marketing. And I thought, well, that's what I did in San Diego. Marketing, I can do that. I worked for a dealership network, so it was almost like a membership where we would recruit dealers to sell our products. So I thought, I could do that for the time being. Mm-hmm. So I applied for the job. And I got an interview, and I got a job offer.
That's awesome.
And so when they gave me the job offer, and they said, and here's what we can pay you, I thought, I can't live on that. And I know Andrea talked a little bit in your podcast, too, about, it's a nonprofit and starting out. But it just was one of the greatest blessings in my life.
So how long did you do that position for?
So I was the membership coordinator for 7 months. Andrea Aragon moved to Florida. So
okay,
there's the again.
There's the puzzle piece. I see it.
There's a lot of pieces with Andrea and I. And so I was the membership coordinator for 7 months, and she made the announcement that her and Darren were going to be relocating to Florida because his job was taking him there. And so, of course, the board of directors opened up the position, and literally I didn't apply for it because, like I said earlier, this was just a little part-time job for me. Just to get my life going and get started again. And a couple of board members were a little bit surprised that I didn't apply for the position initially. And as we were getting closer to the deadline, they're like, we would really welcome, you applying for the position. We think you do a great job. And kind of like you think about, I'm not qualified to be the CEO of anything, of anything, And so I just said, what do I have to lose? And so I applied for the position and I got the job. And again, the Pueblo has been the greatest blessing in my life. The journey that I had with the Latino Chamber was just incredible. And what I learned about that is that God had a plan that I just had to allow myself to play it out, and let things fall where they are. And, I just thought, let's see what this has to offer me. But it allowed me to fall back in love with the community that I was born and raised in.
I love it. And I'm glad you stayed and you just let the plan happen in front of you. And you did an amazing job while you were at the Latino Chamber. I got to see firsthand, you always in action and all the meetings and, event. I mean, you were just everywhere. You represented that position so very well.
Thank you.
And how long were you there for?
18 years.
Oh, my land.
I was there 18 years.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
And so during those 18 years, you know, did you ever feel like you couldn't do it?
Yes.
Tell,
Often.
tell me a little bit about that.
Often.
Often.
So,
Because that's a big job, especially for, and I don't like to say this, but for a woman in this town and to see, you get it from Andrea, like, that's so amazing.
Yeah, it was amazing. And, I have to say that the Latino Chamber served as a springboard for a lot of up-and-coming leaders in our community. If you look at the people that have been affiliated with the Latino Chamber and how they've gone on to do different things and, in their life, it really did serve as a springboard. Mm-hmm. And it really feels like it served as a springboard for me on so many levels. There were days where it was exhausting. It was a 24/7 job, 24 hours, 7 days a week job. You couldn't go to the grocery store without somebody stopping you and saying, hey, got a question about my business, or, hey, I heard that you're involved in this and I want to get my kids involved. How can you help me? Scholarships or whatever. So it was 24/7. It was a very demanding job on so many levels. And I think so much so that it took a toll on my personal life. It really did, but I don't regret it. I have no regrets. Mm-hmm. But I do recognize now, kind of upon reflection, as you kind of look back on the things that you've been involved with, it took a toll on my personal life.
Absolutely. Well, you had to be there all the time. Like, you didn't have time for the personal life. And if you did, I'm sure it was just very hard to balance.
Yeah.
And so then you went on to Health Solutions. And I remember the day finding out that you were leaving us. It wasn't that I wasn't happy for you, but, it's just sad to see you go.
Oh, thank you.
But it was a new stepping stone for you. So tell me a little about that.
So thank you for that. It's one of those things where I didn't know that I was ready for change, but change came and found me. I wasn't looking for a job. And a good friend of mine who was with an organization called PsyCare took me out to lunch one day. He said he wanted to talk to me about some stuff. And I said, sure, come on over. Well, Jen, my intention with him going out to lunch was to get a sponsorship.
Yeah, of course it was. Hidden agenda.
I'm like, okay, sure, let's go to lunch. I've been wanting to get PsyCare involved in the Latino Chamber and, get him involved and sponsor some events and that sort of stuff. So we went to lunch and he was just talking about the work that he was doing and how they're going to be looking for an executive director. The organization really needed to have some leadership to take it to the next level. That kind of stuff. They hadn't had a CEO for 5 years before I got there.
Oh, wow.
But they had a great team that was working and just kind of keeping things going. And people probably wonder what PsyCare is. It's an organization that represented and continues to represent 4 community mental health centers in Southern Colorado. So it was a whole new experience for me. So as we had lunch, we, had a great conversation, and he went on his way and I went on my way, and I got someone that kind of reached out to me and said, hey, whatever happened with that? Did you ever apply? And I'm like, no. Why don't you just try it? Just try it. Just see what there's to offer. So I did. And when I learned more about the work, I thought, this is something that I feel really good about. It feels like it could be a good fit. So I ended up getting the job, which is fantastic. Mm-hmm. I had a couple of years there that worked with 4 community mental health centers to ensure that our vulnerable populations were being served by way of mental health. And, of course, the legislative work that I did at the Latino Chamber, I continued that work on behalf of healthcare and behavioral health with our entities and advocating for friendly legislation to ensure that people have access to mental and behavioral health. So I was there, and then we had some changes. We launched a new company called Health Colorado, which I'm very proud of, and they're still doing great work. But it was becoming something that just didn't feel good anymore to me. I just knew that at that point I was making a decision to make change in my life. And so Health Solutions had a position that opened up, and I applied, and here we go. It was the Chief Experience Officer. And I love my title.
That's fun. It fits you so well.
I love my title, but more importantly, I love what it represents. And it really represents how we ensure that our clients get the absolute best experience possible while they're in our care.
That's awesome.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, congratulations to you. You
Thanks.
have deserved everything that's come your way, and you've been through a lot. I'm sure there's been a lot of influential women, like you've already mentioned. But is there like a businesswoman that you have looked up to, or was your mentor in life?
There's so many throughout my professional journey. But I think one that stands out in my mind most is, well, I was going, in high school and college as I was having my fun time, not paying attention to my studies. I did graduate, though. Good.
So you're a Panther.
Yeah, PCC. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And so in high school and college, I worked for a local flower shop, Dee's Flowers.
Oh, yeah.
And so I worked there for 5 years through high school and college. The owners were they were like family to me, Aldea and Andy Sable. They owned the flower shop for many, many years, and they just became family. And of course, you make, friends there. But Aldea, the wife of the partnership, had a huge influence on me from a business perspective. She ran that flower shop so efficiently, but with so much kindness and compassion, not only for her employees, but for her clients. I mean, we had regular customers that would come in and, it was like they were family with everybody. They just knew everybody. But she had from a business perspective, she really had an influence on me. And, again, you don't realize it at the time when you're watching somebody, seeing them in action. But as you go throughout life and you reflect on that experience, she taught me a lot.
Mm-hmm. Is there any advice that she gave you that you have taken with you, or?
Oh, she was always full of wisdom. She always had good advice. But I think what I remember more about her is her compassion. She was firm. She was firm, and she was a businesswoman, but she was just so kind and compassionate. But, every moment with her was full of wisdom. So I don't know that there's any one thing that stands out other than the big picture with her.
See, I think you resemble some of that. Like, you're definitely a firm, very strong businesswoman, but you do it with grace and compassion. So I think you resemble a lot of your role model. And so thank you for sharing that with me.
Absolutely.
And what is your why in life? Why do you do the things that you do?
Why do I do the things I do? Because life matters. I do things because, and it just depends on what I'm doing in my life. If it's with my family, they're my why. If it's work, it's the clients, they're my why, to do things for them. In friendships, it's those relationships with your friends. So the why is different for me, I think, depending on
what you're doing at that time.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you've inspired a lot of people. What advice would you give to young female leaders who look up to you?
I think one of the things that I reflect on that I think, what has gotten me to where I'm at, and we talked a little bit about the Latino Chamber, and it wasn't an easy job, and I was surrounded by males. It was a very male-dominated industry, and I think for me is relationships. I have this ability to develop relationships with people, even with people I don't agree with. Mm-hmm. And in the business world, it doesn't matter that we don't agree, but we need to work together on behalf of the cause.
Absolutely.
We have got to pull together on behalf of the bigger picture or things that are bigger than us or greater than us. So, I guess I would just encourage people to really value relationships and understand that relationships are very different. Mm-hmm. My relationship with you is different than, other women in the world. My relationship with my family is different than probably others with family dynamics. But I think that's what helped me. Mm-hmm. And I think...
So how do you develop those relationships that way? If it came naturally to you, And if somebody else is like, well, I don't know how to do this, how do I develop that relationship? Can you give me some examples on how you could do that?
You've got to get outside of your own self, and you can't allow yourself to hold yourself back. I mean, I think it's easy, especially for us as women, and you hate to keep saying,
right.
But it's true. We've lived in a male-dominated world for so many years, and we're making headway. We're seeing more women in positions of power.
What do you think about? Were you just going to say that? Because I know you're so excited about that. Me too.
So excited that we have a female vice president, and she's a female that comes from color,
and she's awesome. She's just a good human.
She's a good human being. Yeah, absolutely. So that's very inspiring to me. So I have to tell you, when she was sworn in, I was glued to the TV. And when I see that, it's just so inspiring to me, because I think, I'm never going to be the vice president of the United States.
No,
but
no desire.
Well, I don't know about the desire or the ability, but it's just so inspiring to see that. So going back to relationships and how do you do that? When I started at the Latino Chamber, one of the things that I recognized very early on is how sometimes people were dismissive of the organization. And maybe it's because it represented a segment of our population that might be uncomfortable for people, and that is the Latino Chamber, our Latino community. And so, I would often sit in my office and hear about meetings that are going on that had to do with business development, economic development, different things that I think, well, that's our membership. Why are we not at the table representing our membership in these conversations? So it was a very naive Sandy at the time. And I'm glad I didn't know better, but I just would pick up the phone and I would make phone calls and I would say, hey, whether it's the city or the county, our legislators, and just say, hey, understand this meeting is coming up. I'd love to make sure that the Latino Chamber had representation on behalf of its 500 members, or, when I left, we had 1,000 members. It's like, yay. But, just to really kind of just say, we deserve to have a seat at the table, to be in these conversations. But I didn't approach it from an adversarial perspective or shame on you or how, but to just really encourage people to be more inclusive.
And you did that for the Latino Chamber. I think you brought them to all those tables or, all those conversations that maybe, they weren't. So.
And again, I just didn't know better. It just came natural to me. I don't know. So, in giving advice to up and coming or younger females that are looking at life, I think follow your gut. God gave women intuition for a reason, and you've got to pay attention to that female intuition that we have. And we need to understand that we're equal.
Absolutely.
We're equals in everything. So, sometimes.
Has there ever been a time where you didn't feel like an equal? Besides being in the male dominant, industry and not being at the, even now, do you have times where you're like, I don't feel like I'm equal?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I do.
Really?
And I think it's because of my journey in life, in that, I am Hispanic. I didn't know growing up. And, what I do want to say too is we grew up with a lot of pride of our culture, of our Hispanic culture, around Mexican music. My parents spoke Spanish. My mom still speaks Spanish, and I love it. And unfortunately, as we were growing up, it was discouraged because, they wanted us to, the mainstream and to acclimate and all those things. And I tell her now, Mom, please speak to Mia in Spanish. I want her to know and learn. I think one of the things that I have fear about for my nephews and my nieces that might lose some of that cultural appreciation. You just hope that you never lose that in your family.
Absolutely. And I know you said that they were from a small town, but where did their family come before that? Where was that generation from?
So my uncle and I started looking at that, and I still have so much mystery. I do.
Have you done like
I haven't done the Ancestry.com.
Well, get on it. That's not like you to just get on something. Let's go.
And it's not like me to be curious about something and not just say, hey, well, if I want to know something, I'm going to do it.
Okay, well, that's my challenge to you.
All right. You got my word. I will do it. I'm in.
So how would you describe yourself? What are like 3 words that best describes Sandy Gutierrez?
3 words that describe me. I think it depends. Today, I think I would describe myself a little bit different than maybe other days. But I think in general, I think I'm a very passionate individual.
Mm-hmm. I would agree.
I'm very passionate, and when I want something, or I want to work on something, or I want to achieve something, I get so passionate about it that sometimes it's not in my favor. But I think it has also helped me. I'm passionate that way. I'm stubborn. I could be very stubborn, and that's not good. But I think, again, that stubbornness sometimes help me overcome obstacles and not let obstacles
right,
take over.
Because sometimes your worst qualities are also your best qualities.
Yeah.
So,
what would be another word? Passionate.
It's hard to talk about yourself, isn't it?
It is. And I think that we tend to look at not all the good qualities maybe or descriptive words of ourselves. I think we tend to maybe look at maybe the negative. So I think sometimes I'm insecure.
Really?
So,
And which is okay.
Yeah.
And it's okay to say that I am insecure,
Yep.
but I can't imagine you being insecure of anything.
I've been insecure. I'm at my age, the tender age of how old am I? 57.
How old are you? So what do you do to look this amazing? I remember when you turned 50. I think it was at your 50th birthday. Like, how are you 50? Like, what do you do to look so amazing?
It's my genes. It's my mom.
Okay.
My mama genes. She is 81.
Well, will you figure out where she came from so I can get me some of that?
And she looks like and acts like she's 60. I mean, she still has a lot of youth in her, and it's funny because I'm starting to see the white hairs come out. Oh yeah, it's like, and I'm trying to decide, do I color? And I'm just like, you know what, I'm gonna embrace it.
Absolutely, because your mom has beautiful hair.
Yep, she does, and she doesn't color it. It's black, and she's got a few little white spots, but I think that's where I'm gonna be. But again, Jenna, I think, it's easy to say things that aren't, that your negative qualities. And I think it's hard for us to talk about our positive qualities. And so,
well, you need to work on that, because you need to find all the positives about yourself, because I feel like that's a downfall. Like, sometimes as women, we are our worst enemies in that. Like, we're so hard on ourselves. Even my husband yells at me, and he's like, dude, you've got to stop. But it's true. Like, we are our own worst enemies. That's all right. So you look this amazing. What do you do for self-care? What do you do for Sandy?
So that's a great question.
Because it's important to take care of yourself.
It is very important. And I think this year has been a harder year to take care of yourself. So we talked about the pandemic. And I think that it has had an impact on all of us on so many different levels. So I admit I haven't done a great job this year with self-care, but I constantly push it on my staff and our clients and other people and say self-care is the most important thing you can do for yourself right now. But here's what I love to do. As you know, I love to go to San Diego every August. I rent a cottage on the beach, and I literally take off my watch, flip-flops, shorts, and tank tops, and that's how I am for 10 days. I don't have a schedule. I don't have a calendar. I do what I want to do. If I don't want to get up in the morning, I don't. If I want to have a margarita first thing in the morning, I'll have a margarita.
I love it.
Pina colada, or whatever. So that's really, again, my recharge. That's my time for me. And, I spend a lot of time alone. I talk about my friends that are there, but they're working. They have their lives. So in 10 days, we figure out how to fit all the fun events and times in, especially with the girls. But it truly is my time to just breathe, to inhale and exhale and just get a refresh. I don't know if it's self-care, but it's kind of my therapy of what I do, and I love home projects.
I know. I always see you fixing up your house, and it's so cute. And I love when you share pictures. So keep doing that.
I do. I have it, I bought a house, after moving here and getting settled in, and I've lived in my house for 22, 23 years now. And I always have a project. There's always something. Mm-hmm. And
so what's the next project?
I really want to remodel my laundry room.
That would be a fun one.
I do. I need storage space big time. Okay. And so I envision shelves and, almost part of one of the walls is a closet for my extra clothes.
Yep. Because you already have the other rooms filled up, right?
I live alone. I have a 3-bedroom house and all 3 closets are full.
Girl problems.
They're all full.
I love it.
Yeah.
So laundry room's next. So what's next in your life? What are some more goals that you are looking forward to? I know you're happy where you are now, and I'm not saying you're going to do this, tomorrow, but what else do you have up your sleeve that is a dream of yours to achieve?
Gosh, Jen. A goal or a dream to achieve?
Yeah.
I would love to buy a second home in California. Now, will that ever become a reality? I don't know, but that would be a dream of mine.
Absolutely. Why not?
Well, it takes money.
I know it.
And it's really expensive to live in San Diego, especially on the beach.
My aunt lives there, and it's like $2,000 for a 1-bedroom apartment, and I'm like,
yeah.
Huh?
It's
crazy.
It's crazy. And if you want to live where I, spend my time and on the beach.
Is it like Mission Beach or what part?
No, it's actually not in San Diego proper. It's in San Diego County, but it's north in Carlsbad, Oceanside area.
Okay.
So it's
closer
northern.
where the sills are. Isn't there sills?
It's up north. Yeah, I mean.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know that much about San Diego, but we went there in September, so.
Yeah. So it's a little more affordable, I think, where I want to live than San Diego proper, but it's very expensive. And so when I look at that, I think, well, if I win the lottery, maybe that will be where my dream will come true. But it's a dream, but, we'll see. You never know. You never know what God's going to put in your lap, right?
No. Do you go to church?
I do.
Where do you go?
Holy Family.
Holy Family. Do you go with your mom?
Oh, yeah. Holy Family Parish. So let me just be very clear. I don't go on a regular basis, but Holy Family Parish has been our church growing up. It's where I was baptized. It's where I made my first Holy Communion. Mm-hmm. It's where I got married. And so that's our family
church.
And my Mia made her first Holy Communion there last year.
I need to meet this Mia. Next time she's in town, can we have lunch or go have ice cream together?
Absolutely, we will. We'll do the girly thing with her. So yeah, I go to church. I'm not a regular. I don't claim to be, and every Sunday my mom is. She actually goes to church every morning.
Oh wow.
Yeah. And that's one thing that
dedication.
And that's one thing that I just really am grateful for her, is she instilled that faith in us, and to believe in a higher power, and God is going to protect you, and God is going to carry you. Mm-hmm. And she taught all of us how to pray growing up, and she's teaching Mia how to pray. She taught my nephews how to pray, so they know their prayers because of her. And the last time Mia was here from San Diego, she always spends a night with me, and so we're getting ready for bed, and she's, tucking, and she's sleeping next to me. She's tucked away, and she's like, "Oh, Auntie, good night." She said, "But we have to say our prayers before we go to sleep."
Oh.
So I'm like, sweet. Okay, yeah. So she says her prayers, and so yeah, my mom taught us how to pray.
I love that. And I know it's important that you keep your family going and their heritage and everything. Is there something like your mom makes that is so important to you that you want to like keep passing down and Mia to pass down?
I think the power of prayer, I think just keeping that in our family, and she has. I mean, and what carries me through life is my faith, and it's because of my mom. But there are obviously those wonderful Mexican dishes that, you just hope every year, like for Christmas, we have our tradition Christmas Eve, and it's tamales and or red chili, and there's nothing else. I mean, there's nothing else.
Sounds so amazing.
So yeah, we do have those traditions. What?
Do you help roll?
Heck no. What I did not get, I'm a cook. I will cook. I don't consider myself a great cook.
No?
No. I don't know if you remember when we were at the Latino Chamber when I wanted to look for cooking classes. Did we talk about that?
No, but let me tell you one thing I do remember, and I actually brought it up here because you... I don't know if I could say this.
I don't know.
But I'd be like, Steven, is there coffee made? Because one of us would always make Steven, and he'd be like, yeah, Sammy got one, but I don't know if I would trust if it's fresh or not. It might have been yesterday. She might have just thrown it in the microwave. So, I'll go get coffee now, and I'm like, oh, this is cold. I'm like, do I pull a Sandy and go throw it in the microwave?
Oh, my God. So, I recycled coffee.
Yeah, I don't know. There's nothing wrong with that.
So, my friend Karen in San Diego, for some reason, we were both the same. But in the morning, if there was leftover coffee, and this was before Keurigs, and, you just had the normal coffee maker. If there was... I can't believe you remember that.
And I even bring it up here. I'm like, I'm pulling a Sandy today.
But the next morning, if there's coffee left over from the day before, I would just run it through again and just drink it the next day.
There's nothing wrong with that. I'm not judging you because I do it now. There's nothing wrong with it.
I can't believe that you remember that.
But anyways, going back, you were going to do cooking classes.
So, just for social interaction, I had this dream of creating cooking classes or finding cooking classes in the community and doing it with wine pairing, just to kind of learn about how to pair wines with good food. And I couldn't find it. So I went on Facebook and put a post and said, hey, does anybody know about cooking classes? I'd love for to do that. And I kind of described what I had envisioned in my head. And a friend of mine, Phil Panaleo, who is not a chef, but he is an amazing cook, he's like, yeah, let's do it. I do some of that stuff in Canyon City for the Sons of Italy. And I said, well, let's do it. So we had lunch one day, and we talked about it, and we found a commercial kitchen. And so we just started calling friends and family, and we would do cooking classes. And then I'd talk with John over at 80/20 Wines. And I would tell him what we were having that evening for our cooking classes, what's a good wine to pair with that. So anyway, we did that for quite some time. And
awesome.
Yeah. So I don't know what brought that up. I can't remember, but I'm not a good cook.
Oh, you're not a good cook. Yeah, you do. You do, obviously now. So what do you do for fun?
Oh gosh, I work on my house. It's just really that's me. That's what I do for fun.
Do you have any regrets in life?
Oh, many.
Do you?
I have many regrets. Are you going to ask me?
Are you going to go into more detail or no? I regret not being a better daughter to my mom. Stop that. Quit being so hard on yourself.
And I'm going to get emotional here. But, you look back and you think, God, I was a good kid. But you do things. And, you have those regrets. And, maybe it's because, she's getting up in age and, as you reflect on life and you just think, God, why did I do that? But she was a very forgiving mom. Moms and dads are very forgiving, and they're that unconditional love that no matter what you do, and you're a mom.
Are you her favorite?
No.
No?
No. It's so funny because we tease each other, but we've always teased, and I don't know, I think there's some truth to it a little bit, but we've always teased her that my brother has always been her favorite. And maybe it's because he's the only boy. I don't know. And, he grew up in a home of nothing but women. I go back to, we were young when my dad died, so he was the only male in the house. And I think, I can't say this because I don't have kids, but I think moms have special relationships with their sons.
Yeah.
They do with their daughters too.
Yeah.
So my mom and I have a great relationship. So regrets, I mean, but I have a lot of things that I'm grateful for too with my mom. And, one of the fondest memories I have in my professional life with my mom is, you mentioned it earlier, I would take her to all the events. She was always my date. She was my greatest supporter. She would cheer me on at events.
She's so proud of you. She was just beaming of joy. Like, that is my daughter up there.
She's very proud of all of us. She really is. But I know that. I know how proud she is of me. And I know my dad would be proud. I really know that he would be proud of me too.
Absolutely.
But I think one of the things that I am so grateful for that I got to experience with my mom is, like I mentioned, she come from very humble beginnings. She grew up on a ranch as a hard worker. She raised 3 kids. So she worked so hard her entire life, but she was always happy. But when I was at the Latino Chamber, I got an invitation to the White House.
I remember that.
And there was no question in my mind who my guest was going to be. But when the Obamas were in office, I got an invitation to their Christmas celebration.
That's right.
And, Jen, when I got that invitation, it was so funny because I thought it was a joke. I thought somebody was playing a joke on me. And I'm thinking, why would I get invited to the White House? I've been to the D.C. with my job many times. I worked with our senators. But we got the invitation and I took it to the board and they're like, heck yeah, you're going. And I'm like, okay. So I took my mom.
I love it.
And when I saw my mom walk into the White House, it was like, whew. I did it for my mom.
Did you feel like you made it at that point in your life?
To some degree, yeah. Yeah. It's like, wow, I get to show my mom, because of my life journey and her support of me, this is a kind of a little reward for us. And it was just an amazing experience.
Well, I'm so happy you guys got to share that together.
Yeah, yeah.
Does she ever go to San Diego with you?
Oh, yeah.
Does she?
When we lived out there, when I was married, she'd go out quite
Okay.
often. She would come out, visit quite often.
Is there anything else you want to do with your mom? Because you said she's getting up there. Is there anything that you're like, I really wish, my mom and I could, do the, like the White House was a very special moment in y'all's lives.
I think just to travel more with her. And I don't know that there's any one place that I would like to take her, but just to continue experiencing things outside of our world here in Pueblo, which is an amazing place. And you know how I feel about Pueblo.
Yeah.
It's my license plates say P Chica, Pueblo Chica.
I did not know that, but now
Pueblo Chica.
I will know not to ride your butt. So you won't yell at me.
So I think just travel more with her. I just think, and experience different cultures or different experiences.
Well, you should book. Flights are cheap right now.
I know.
Right?
I know. But COVID, we're getting on the other side of it, though.
So, and I'm thinking you might have got this from your mom, but how do you make people feel so important? How do you do that? And just because you're so good with relationships, or how?
Jennifer, I think it's just you respect people. You accept. I'm a very accepting person, no matter who anybody is.
I love that about you.
I'm accepting, and I think, I don't know. I love people. I just love people.
How do you stay so positive?
Well, I can honestly say I'm not always positive, but I try to be upbeat. I think my gratitude for life and my many experiences that, I can, and I do, we talked about it, you can beat yourself up, but positivity brings so much more joy in your life.
Absolutely. It's how you look at it. You
Yeah.
can look at different situations. I know last night we were at the YMCA swimming, and it was in the sauna, like the heated pool, and I'm like sweating in a sweater and Uggs, and I'm like, it is so hot, I'm not going to make it. And then I'm like, you know what? I'm going to change my attitude. I'm going to look like I'm in a sauna right now, and I'm going to burn some calories. And if you can just switch your mindset, it's crazy how being positive or looking at it at a negative aspect, it goes a long way.
Yeah, we get so much more out of life when we're positive because we can get so bogged down with the negative. And so there's always the brighter side.
And how do you help other women achieve their goals and climb that ladder?
Just to support them and know that my journey is very different from someone else's journey. And so not being judgmental and encouraging women. One of the things that I loved about the Latino Chamber was our Junior Latino Chamber program, because I got to work with middle school students.
I remember them always hanging out.
And I just love to see young, boys and girls experiencing something different and knowing. And we were intentional in how we selected kids to be part of that program, because we wanted kids that wouldn't have otherwise got to experience different things to be part of that program and instill in them their ability to do for themselves. And it was really focused on entrepreneurship because we wanted to teach kids about business and becoming entrepreneurs if that's where their life took them. But I think to the question, how to inspire, is just, to be respectful that their journey is different than mine, but yet very similar. I didn't grow up rich. Like I said, my mom raised 3 kids and here we are. But
do you have a song that describes you? Like if you had your one walkout song, what would it be?
Please don't judge me.
I'm learning from you right now.
Please
I'm not judging anybody.
I don't know that Alicia Keys, This Girl Is on Fire.
This girl is on fire. Sing it.
I'm not going to sing it, but this girl, and I don't know, I
love it.
Sometimes I just have to turn that song on.
You're like Alexa.
And
play it.
Yeah.
And you
because
just
I need that. Okay, you could do this, or if it's like getting ready for something like this.
I love it. It just gets you like pumped up.
And it's so funny because Mia now sings that song in the shower.
I love it.
I
love it.
We took her to San Diego, took her back because she lives there now. What an interesting thing, right? From me
taking her there.
Yeah. So last February, my nephew and I took her back home, and we decided to spend more time with her. So we spend the weekend there, and she was in the shower and she was just singing her little heart out. This girl is on fire. And I'm thinking,
I love it.
Oh, please don't be a mini me, right?
I love it. How do you balance your life with everything you have going on?
My life is so much more balanced right now than it's ever been.
Do you think it's because of your position where you're at now? And
Yes.
You're not working 20 hours a day like you did at the Latino Chamber, so you're finding that time to do the things you like your home projects and travel. And
Yep. Like I said, the chamber was a very demanding position, and I didn't do a good job at balancing my life. And like I said, my personal life took
a toll.
It did.
What do you feel like your biggest successes thus far in life?
Taking my mama to the White House.
That was it. I love it.
Yeah.
And what does influential mean to you?
I almost wanted to Google the definition.
I did that thinking of okay, I want to do a podcast. What does it look like? Influential. I had to look at the definition because you have to make sure it's okay.
So, in preparing for this, and I'm thinking, okay, why am I looked at as being influential? So, I honestly, so I thought, do I Google it and try to figure out what the definition is? Okay, influential. So, I think for me is being influential is to reach back and bring somebody with you and encourage them and push them out of their comfort zone. So just really pushing women to get out of their comfort zone and realize their potential and their value. And So I don't know if that makes me influential, then okay.
Absolutely. Well, and I think it does. You know, my years when I was an ambassador for you at the Latino Chamber, I just remember looking at you and watching you, and you just inspired me in so many different ways. And you were always just, I mean, you carried yourself so well, and you're always so funny but kind. But then, so, you know, you had so much wisdom and knowledge. To me, you've just been an influential woman in my life, and I appreciate you being here today.
Thank you so much for having me. And, you know, I think to that point, we never know who's watching us. And so we always have to be at our best. Sometimes we fall. Sometimes we demonstrate not the greatest of ourselves. But we never know who's watching us.
Absolutely.
And so be the best you can, because there's little girls that might want to grow up and be just like you, and we need to set good examples.
Amen to that, sister.
That's it.
Anything else you want to add to Influential Women Podcast?
Oh, you know what? I just want to say thank you so much. And I want to say thank you for what you do. Thank you for being an inspiration to so many as well. And I know that you sit here and you think, no, you know, I don't think so. But so it's, you know, so now you know how I kind of feel too. But I loved walking into the Latino Chamber to work every morning, because the first person I got to see when I showed up for work was you, because your office was right to the right. And you were always upbeat. I heard you talking with your clients, and you treated them with so much respect, and you were a listener, even when there were tough conversations, because everybody wanted a billboard. And you had to balance that, especially during election time. So so I was watching you too. So again, we never know who's watching us. And so I think, you know, the other thing that you and I shared at the chamber, and thank you for serving as an ambassador, it was, you know, you were always there. I don't know that you missed an event.
I tried not to.
You were always there. You showed up. You were dependable. You were fun, you know, like you said.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm incredibly grateful to you for that. It's one of those things where you surround yourself with good people to get good things done.
Absolutely. And I'm glad I had the honor of being in the, you know, that building and being a small part of the Latino Chamber, and just, you know, getting to watch you and being in that position. It was a lovely chapter in my life, and I'm blessed that I got you out of it.
Thank you. Me too. But I do need to mention one person that was very special in yours in my life.
Oh.
Marilyn.
Oh. My Marilyn.
Yeah. So we talk about, you know, women that touched our hearts or our lives in special ways.
Oh. Marilyn. And I remember you talked about the flower shop, and that lady being, you know, your influential person. Marilyn took me to that flower shop. We would stop by and just walk around on our mini walks. She was a volunteer at the Latino Chamber. She had been, in her 80s?
Oh, yes.
Beautiful silver hair, beautiful smile, always just dressed so professional and so kind.
She just had a heart of gold, and she just wanted to give back to her community. She didn't want to sit home at her age. And I'll never forget the day that I got that phone call from her looking for volunteer work. And I'm like, heck yeah, we can always use help. And she showed up like she was getting paid $1 million an hour. She gave it her all. She worked. She was dependable. She was reliable.
And I'm so glad you brought her up, because what a genuine heart of gold little lady that just, one thing I always cherished was our walks. And I remember being 9 months pregnant, and she'd be like, let's go for a walk. And I'm like trying to like hold up my belly, walking down Victoria, because Marilyn needed to go for a walk for her health, because it was important to her. And
absolutely. So yeah, that's a special person, a female in our lives that we got to share. And there was so much unconditional love that she gave, and so much of herself. And again, little did she know we were watching her, and she was giving us so much out of just being there.
Absolutely. She's a special lady, and it holds a special place in our heart. And she has what does she have named after her at the Latino Chamber? Didn't we do something for her, like that wall or something?
We dedicated one of the plaques.
Okay.
Yeah. And you were there at the service with us, as you know, we were all a team, and you know, it was a great loss for all of us. It was hard. And it's days like this when it snows she would call us first
For
thing.
a ride?
She would not miss work.
No.
And she didn't get paid. She was a volunteer, but she treated it like a true job. And one of us always had to pick her up for work when it snowed because she was not going to miss work. So again, I guess if
who's watching.
You never know who's watching you.
And how even the small things that you don't even think make a difference, make a huge difference in somebody's life. Because she was just volunteering and she thought she was doing her good acts, but really she was, making an impact on our lives.
Yeah,
so.
she gave so much to all of us.
She did.
While she was there. So I'm very grateful for her. Grateful for you and just my journey in life. And thank you for letting me share my story.
Yes, thank you for telling your story. You are a beautiful woman inside out. You mean so much to me. You are just a good, genuine human, and I love you, I admire you, and I appreciate all the work you have done in our community and will continue to do. You are a strong woman leader, and just please give yourself more credit. Will you work on that for me?
Well, life has given me more than I've ever given it, so truly, life has given me so many blessings.
Well, everybody, Sandy Gutierrez, you are an influential woman, and I appreciate you being here today.
Thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure.
Yep, that's a wrap.